everyone, it's been a minute. Well, I've had Oscar, my husband, and the best coach of all time, Sifu coach Oscar, on Culture Chat. We also host 40 Fit Fu, which is a kind of a fitness tips and advice that we were doing for over a year, and giving out different things for people who are over 40. And in addition, Oscar is running a kind of a New Year start challenge, and we thought what would be a great idea is to do a crossover episode. So this will be airing live on Culture Chat, as well as serving the purpose of saying hi to all our 40 Fit Fooers. We miss you guys. And of course, talking to your clients and people who are on this fitness program, and maybe some of you out there will learn something. I don't know, I hope so.
Our aim is to please, and that's what we're going to try to do.
So the name of this challenge is called the Drop 2 Sizes in 8 Weeks Challenge. And actually, I started that challenge a few weeks ago. I'm on week 3 right now, and you just kickstarted that program with your clients. So kind of take us through, one, why you thought this was a good challenge for now, and then why we've had so much interest, because we've had to turn people away, actually.
So why now is there is something to the energy of the new year. We have had conversations before about don't wait until the new year, don't wait until the next day to start, just start whenever. However, let's take advantage of this kind of energy and momentum that comes in with the new year to start a challenge. The second thing is people just like challenge. So having, I think maybe just the wording of having it as a challenge helps as well. And then also giving it a specific timeline, 8 weeks. So all that together, taking the energy, taking it being a challenge, having it as a time frame of about 8 weeks, and then with a very specific goal of trying to drop 2 sizes, has garnered some interest.
Yeah, so let's break this down a little bit, because a lot of times we see, fitness fads and diet plans and all these things that come about. We hear so much, and you and I are pretty adverse to many of them for a lot of different reasons. But tell me why, one, this did appeal to you and you thought it would be healthy for people, particularly the wording of dropping 2 sizes versus lose weight, right? Or, what appeals to you about this, and why do you think it's healthy for people?
Well, I think the same thing that appeals to me when it comes to most things in fitness is that I steal it from people who are way smarter than I am. So this dropping 2 sizes actually comes from these great trainers in California and the West Coast, Alan and Rachel Cosgrove, and they've been running the Drop 2 Sizes promotion for a while in their business successfully. They came out with a book about it and whatnot, and me being associated with them through a group, that I was able to access that Drop 2 Sizes program. And so it has been proven to be successful. We just kind of we tweaked a couple of things here and there to make it fit for our specific clients. We train a lot of people who are trying to get in shape also to do Kung Fu and Tai Chi. And so we kind of catered it to that. But the science is the science, and the proven track record is there of follow these certain things and you will drop 2 sizes.
Okay, you just said something really interesting, which was the word science, because it's kind of a new word again. It's kind of a new fun word that we all have hope for again, that it's kind of brought into light, that we are taking science to then use that to build upon action, right? So just really he can geek out like a lot. So not too geeky, but let's just kind of give a little bit of the science-based facts over. One, is it healthy to drop 2 sizes in 8 weeks? Is it, what do you have to do? People are thinking, oh, I'm going to have to be on a green smoothie fast for 8 weeks. It sounds kind of horrible. And I will tell you firsthand, I don't give up eating. I love food. I talk about food on my Culture Chat podcast all the time. We talk about it here on 40 Fit Fu. We talk about it pretty much all day. You talk about it while coaching. So I'm not about sacrificing and going through this horrible program that's going to make me feel bad. So immediately, though, I think people get a little off-put. But take us through a little bit of that kind of science behind how this can really help people.
Right. So I think the data spoke for itself. So when you have randomized placebo-controlled trials that showed different population groups trying out low-calorie diets, high-protein diets, diets with protein and exercise, and just having that information in a presentation and then me showing that to people, that's what I think clicked for some of the ones who wanted to start it. So some of the data just showed that, one, you don't have to starve yourself. Having a very low-calorie diet will not necessarily lead to you changing your appearance, because a lot of people are looking for a physical transformation. Having a very low-calorie diet can cause you to lose weight on the scale, but that doesn't always equate to what people are looking for. So you can eat very low-calorie, but your body fat percentage could not go down. And so that can lead to a host of different problems. Some of the information that we presented before starting this program was making sure that people got enough of the right calories, high protein, good vegetables, and then really trying to focus on strength and resistance training to build lean muscle. You build lean muscle, that will burn fat. You could hypothetically not change the numbers on the scale at all and completely change your appearance just by changing those percentages of your lean body mass with your body fat percentage.
Yeah, and there's a lot to digest there. Digest. But I think one of the key things is that relationship, especially me as a over 40-year-old female, has with the number that we see on the scale. There's like kind of that emotional response. And so I love that this kind of takes that out of the equation as well. So it really is kind of about like yourself versus this like data about yourself or something. It's really about how you feel and how you're starting to look, and are those changes being made. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about was, well, first of all, we're not doctors, we don't play them on TV, we're not telling you like medical advice, but we are fitness professionals, yes.
We attempt to be fitness
we're fitness coaches and instructors, but we try to be professional. One of the things that I noticed, even for me, myself, because I've done a lot of different types of kickstarts to my health. Like there are times where I know I'm not getting enough sleep, so I know what kind of regimen I need to be on. And so me this year, I thought sounded like something kind of I needed to get me to the goals that I wanted to get at. And I think a lot of the clients that have jumped on board, like you said, there's that new year, new resolution type of thing that kind of made it so appealing. But I think one of the things was the science that you presented and the thought that, the weight on the scale can go down, but that isn't always positive.
Right.
I think reframing our mindset to really realize, like, yes, that matters, especially if it's a really disproportionate number, but really that isn't how one should base all measurement and progress off of. Yeah. I think that mindset was like, wait, what? I think that kind of education is really important for not just anybody on the program, but for anybody out there that wants to make changes. Like that's really the one measurement I think that everybody kind of focuses on a little too much.
So one of your frequent guests on Culture Chat, Dan John, has a formula or these steps of like, hey, do you want to live past a certain age? And I can't remember the exact age. It's like, let's say you want to live past 60. It's floss, don't smoke, wear your seatbelt.
Eat your veggies.
No, well, but you could technically not eat your veggies and still live past 60. But it's those, and then when you get out of the shower, just be safe so that you don't slip and fall and break something. And then the last one is don't weigh over 300 pounds. Okay. The reason I bring that up is because if you're not over 300 pounds, I'm not saying don't look at the scale, but the scale may not matter as much for your long-term health as if you were, because I've got some clients who are 6'5". Mm-hmm. We can get them under 300 pounds. They're gonna feel a lot better. But at the same time, you've got some clients who may look at the scale and they look at a number like, let's say 180 pounds, and they're upset at that number. Well, if you are eating the right food and training correctly, you could make this big physical transformation, not even look at the scale for 8 weeks, hop back on the scale, look and feel amazing, and go, and then think, whoa, the scale didn't really move more than just a few pounds. But does it really matter if you're healthier, if you're moving better, if you've converted that fat into lean muscle? A lot of people fall into the trap of every day jumping on the scale and getting a lot of frustration. And what we're encouraging people to do, with this program and challenge that we're doing, is ditch it, completely throw the scale away, and just focus on what you can do day to day to move forward.
Okay, so let's jump into the two components. So one is nutrition and one is the strength training and working out. So the nutrition part is where everybody gets all defensive. I'm going to say defensive.
Defensive, and there's a word that you've used, which is
resistant.
Resistant.
Yeah, your resistance should be during strength training, not during eating, like making changes. So perhaps we can go through, some of the top questions, some of the things that you already have seen in the first week, and then things that I've gone through as well, like in terms of a lot of the pitfalls or misunderstanding about what it means to eat a certain way.
Yeah. So one of the first things I think people think is when they're trying to get lean, change their body, look hot, whatever it is you want to think about it, is they need to realize they need to eat to fuel their body. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of people who initially in their mind like, yeah, maybe I need to change how I'm eating. And their first thought is, let me eliminate. So instead of eliminating, think, okay, what can I add to my meals? And for most people, and this is by no means as a, nutrition guide for everyone, but for most people, they need more protein and more vegetables in their meal. And so what we encourage people is when they look at their plate and that, let's say they're having 3 meals a day or 4 meals a day with whatever the snacks are, your first thing for food that's going into your body is, does this have protein? Does it have vegetables? And then the carbs will come. But that's the first thing. And if you look at it that way, then you can actually eat a pretty good amount of food, feel satiated, not feel like you are limiting yourself or you're not depriving yourself of food, and actually enjoy it and get those results that you want, as opposed to, one of the first questions that came this week is, well, I'm really feeling hungry. And I said to this one client, okay, well, show me your journal. And we took a look at it and said, oh, you're just not eating enough. You remember the portions that we want for each meal, the right amount of protein, the right amount of vegetables. And this is Precision Nutrition popularized this for me and clarified it for me, is using your hands as portion control. So as portion or calorie counting. So you could, instead of thinking, okay, how many exact calories does this have for protein, is for every person, just use your hand, look at the meaty part here of your palm, that should be your protein. Make a fist, that is your vegetables. See your thumbs, that is your healthy fat. So one of that. Healthy fat, vegetables, protein, and then a cupped handful for the starchy, healthy carbs, and hopefully
okay, so when you say cup handful, though, it's not like here. It's like literally.
Yeah, you take a little cupped hand. Like let's say you were in the beach and you got a little handful of sand. That is your carbs. And I think the portions are completely opposite of what people normally do. They normally go
because we have pasta and one meatball.
Right, exactly. So the thought of I'm not eating enough is due to not using, to use again Precision Nutrition's words, the right amount of calorie control as opposed to calorie counting.
Yeah, and that gets really confusing because one of the first questions is, now we have all these wonderful apps that are very helpful, but in all honesty, for me, I'm actually doing a written food journal. Like that just helps me see everything better. It also gets me off the screen a little bit more time, but whatever's gonna set you up for success is what I would say. Go ahead and use that. Like if you're never gonna write it on a piece of paper, but the app will help you and that's gonna lead to you doing something, then it's all good. But I really like to write things out. And for sure, one of the first things is when you go into the apps, because they calculate everything for you. And so they're like, well, how many calories should I be getting? And we kind of want to move away from that and just go, well, you could have 1,000 calories in a piece of pizza, but you could also have 1,000 calories in broccoli, salmon, and
which is much harder to get that many calories.
Exactly. And so that's where the calorie word gets a little bit deceiving, because you don't want to just count your calories. You want to count good food, like what we're taking in. And precision nutrition also helped me kind of with that mindset of, okay, how am I going to look at it, my relationship with my meal, and how I'm processing that in my brain, right? Because I was never a big calorie counter, but I think that that's something that people get into some pitfalls with, like, well, it looks like I'm under my calories, or it looks like I'm over, or whatever. And it's, like you said, it's pretty rare you're gonna OD on broccoli.
I mean, the poison is always in the dose. So yes, you could technically overdo it. I think for each person, you have to think about what is your goal, right? And then work your way around that. Because for some people, their goal may be, I just want to live as long as I possibly can, eating only the stuff that I like. And whatever happens, happens.
Right, so and good for you.
So if you're happy with that, great. But then there's other people who are upset maybe about the way that they're looking and feeling, the energy that they have, not being able to do things that they love. And so you have to make that transformation. And the body is, and all of us, we love homeostasis. We love to be kind of where we're at. So it takes a little bit of a push to
change.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of push to change. But if you can consistently do the right things over time, and then you set a new baseline, then that actually becomes really hard to step away from, which is again, not that we do this perfectly, but it's more of where we're at, where if we find ourselves deviating from the way that we normally eat, we notice it right away. Not only in, I feel like fat or bloated or whatever, I'm feeling these pants are a little snugger, but actually physically feeling worse by not doing the things that we all know we should do. But if you're used to that, you actually are going to be a little bit resistant to the change, and those changes may be uncomfortable. And we have to kind of guide people through that and say it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Especially with food, because we get into this comfort food and our emotional relationship with comfort food, and that actually makes us feel better, but technically it doesn't really make us feel better. Like, if you think about it, your body responds. You may not realize it as well. I know that you've talked about this before and done research on that. Certain foods are inflammatory. So you may not go, oh, my stomach hurts because I ate this cheeseburger, for example, or macaroni and cheese, which I love, but don't get to have it as often as I like. But so you may not have what you think is an adverse response, but maybe that joint pain you're having, maybe those allergies that you're feeling, or your nose is runny, or your reaction to other things, like all of that adds up. And I think getting over that, I don't want to be harsh, guys, but denial that it's really just a fact that there are certain foods that really isn't good for our bodies. Right. Now, it doesn't mean you can't ever have it. Like, have a slice of pizza and enjoy that, but like, know that, okay, there may be a consequence to that and you'll be okay with it. But if this goes right nicely into the 80-20 or 90-10 rule that you kind of talked about, depending what your goal is.
Right. So, one of the things you mentioned there is how tricky it is nutrition. I think exercise and fitness is super easy. Like looking at someone and say, okay, here are the movements that based on your body you need to do and to get you to where you're at. That to me is way easier than nutrition. And because you said nutrition there is an emotional component to it. There's a history of your emotions with it, which is complicated, which we can't go into it all because it's individual to you. But you have to realize that while you're making the changes, that's why changing the nutrition component is really hard, is that it's not just do this. It's also like, wait, this is who I am. It's there's a lot more that comes into it. And then the other part with the nutrition is the calorie control that we talked about. Is 99% of people who are trying to track their food are probably not doing it correctly, because you're forgetting about certain things that are in there that add up to calories. So you could be thinking that you're eating healthy, but a serving of fat is your thumb, and you finish off a whole bowl of almonds, right? And that's considered as fat, and that's a very high caloric impact into your body. So just be aware of all of the things that you're taking in, liquid and food, all of it does add up. And using things like with the calorie control, with your portion sizes, using your palm for portion control can help with that. As far as the changes you said for the 80-20, I think if we want to maintain where we're at 80-20. 80% of the time we eat the same thing, 20% of the time we do a little bit of splurging. Sometimes it's 85-15. And then now for this challenge, we're trying to push it more to 90-10 because we have our timeline of 8 weeks. It's a challenge. And we were trying to see, can we make the changes in that time? And so you're going to have to, when it comes to nutritional guidelines, try to follow those 90% of the time, which means 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, 21 meals out of the week, possibly. You should be 19, 20 times. You only get one time to splurge. If you're 4 times a week, that you're pushing that up to now like 28 meals a week, you only get 2 times to splurge.
Yeah, and I like what you just mentioned there with when you just look at it overall as the number of meals per week, because I think what people sometimes do is go, well, 90% of this meal is okay and 10% is not, but that doesn't equate the same as the 90 to 10% rule. Do you know what I mean?
Well, everything that you take in counts, I think is the point, right? So
but those 10% over every meal will add up to more than just 10% overall.
Correct.
So that's how we want to frame it in our mind.
That's a good point. Like if you were to look at, let's just say because everything that you take in, let's count that as a meal. Your snack of almonds and blueberries, or if you're that on the good side, or your snack of a slice of pizza on the bad side. All of that counts as a meal. So if you hypothetically are eating 4 times a day, meals a day, the liquid stuff counts. So if it's anything other than water or herbal tea, it's going to count calorically. And then everything else that you eat counts. So 4 meals a day, 28 meals out of the week, you need to be having 26 ideal, like perfectly done meals to move yourself towards the goal that you want, which, for the purpose of this conversation is in 8 weeks to drop 2 sizes. That gives you 2 meals to quote unquote splurge. But what does splurge mean? That means that
It means you set out the banquet table and you put all your favorites and eat it for an hour.
That means that you allow yourself to have a taste, to try something out, to say, you know what, I will have my slice of pizza here, but I'm not going to have an entire pie, because you don't want to get into the mindset of like, it's splurge time, let's eat everything and eat myself into oblivion. You want to think, okay, it's my splurge meal. That means that I'm allowing myself, like a client told me yesterday, well, I also had half a piece of cake because it was my daughter's birthday. Perfect. That's like the perfect time to splurge. And you should applaud that. You should encourage it. You should, be proud of that you allowed yourself to do that. And then look at the rest of the week and say, well, I already had my one splurge meal, so now I'm going to try to tighten it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think our resistance to that is really personal, right? So it's something that everybody has to kind of mind through themselves. But I know that a lot of the clients and a lot of people, because we're kind of sharing and trying to help go back and forth since I've been doing this for a couple more weeks, is that the compromise, right? Well, but I'm doing this and it's so much better than how I was. And that's phenomenal. Like we're super proud of all of our strivers and all of our Wah Lum members that have been actually doing the challenge. The fact that you take the initiative to do it and you say, I'm going to sign up, and you take the plunge. We're asking kind of for a lot. I mean, we're asking for daily food journals, possibly photos. We're asking for 4 workouts a week, and then to be mindful of your eating, right? I mean,
drinking half your body weight in ounces of water, taking time to de-stress, taking a certain amount of supplements, making sure that you're sleeping 7+ hours a day. Yeah. So there's a lot that we're asking specifically for this challenge, for sure. And the fact that some of you have even taken that on, awesome.
Yeah.
Great job.
Definitely. And I think what's good to remember as those of us who are doing challenges, or those of you at home who have like your own little goal, it's sort of temporary, but then after that, you'll find it much easier to be maintaining at the 80-20. Like you'll also find that you don't want to eat fast food every day, because your body has then been used to all of this amazing nutrition. And when we say whole foods, we're not advertising for the supermarket. When we say whole foods, we're talking about a plant or a veggie or like something that came out of the ground, or, you know, a clean protein, right? So you'll find like, oh, well, that's what a crash diet is. And then you go back to eating how you were. And that's why crash diets don't work. And this is, I've found to be actually a pretty easy transition for me. But that's also because I already did several iterations of habit changing for kind of building to this. So this is a little bit like, you know, not as huge of a stretch, but it's still a challenge. Yeah. And I think, another thing I wanted to ask you about, because I know a lot of the clients, you know, are still kind of getting accustomed to it and saying, well, but it's better than before, but I'm trying to make the change. Keep in mind that it is only 8 weeks and you're the one that set that goal and you're the one that said you wanted to do it. Like you said, this is what I want. I want to drop 2 sizes in 8 weeks, whatever that means for you. It could mean inches. It could be like some of us were instructed to get a pair of pants or a belt or a dress that we haven't quite fit the way we wanted. Try it on and then say, okay, this is my goal. This is how I want to feel in this, or this is what I want to look like in my outfit, right? And so your bargain, like there's this natural instinct to bargain for, right. But can't I just have this because I had a long day or I didn't have time to prep? And it's like, you can, but remember, you're the one that signed up for the goal and you're the one that said that you wanted to do it. And maybe having like a little mantra or having like I'm committed to this until March, blah, 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 right. Whatever the date is, and just going, no, keep that kind of in your mind, knowing like, there's light at the end, and after you're going to feel so much better.
I think that's one of the points that Rachel, who created the Drop 2 Size Challenge, said is you need to have that mantra, write it out. What is it that's going to push you through during the tough times? Yeah. But the point that you made also about really being strict during the 8 weeks is super important for me, because I'm very much of a lax person of letting people choose how they want to do their fitness journey, right? Yeah. It's like, well, it's your body, your choice. Like, you know, you are the master of your own domain. So you do what you feel is right for you. And I think for most people that I train most of the time, they really enjoy that. However, this specific thing, 8-week Drop 2 Sizes challenge, if you're watching this and you're in the challenge, remember, you decided that you wanted to do it. You committed to following the rules, and you paid me money to hold you accountable. Right. So when it comes to, this is not the way that I normally function as a trainer. When it comes to, well, here's what I did and I think I'm doing better, I'm still going to be the same. Yeah, that's awesome. However, remember, you set a goal for yourself. You need to be doing this stuff 90% of the time over the course of 8 weeks if you want to accomplish that goal. If that's not the case anymore, then that's a conversation that we need to have. But I really feel that it's probably still the case. It's just that, just like anything else, we are resistant to the change, and we also try to negotiate with ourselves and make compromises with ourselves, because that is the nature of.
Yeah, and I think what we as the people who are doing the challenge need to remember, it is your function to hold us to that accountability, right. Which means tough love, right? Like it means like the reason it's, those of you who have children out there, I know there are a lot of you that have those little human beings that you take care of. Sometimes there's tough love, right? It's not good for them to have cupcakes for breakfast, because as you know, that would be really horrible for the rest of your day in terms you have to be tough love, right? You can't always let your loved one get away with stuff. And so Coach Oscar is going to be tough love for 8 weeks.
Well, you know, a lot of the times, again, 99% of the time when I'm coaching someone, you know, one of our strivers, someone who's with me, I ask them, well, how tough do you like your love? How tough do you want it? Do you want me to be on top of you, or you just want me to be more relaxed? And most people don't want me to be on them, except for this. Like there was very specific rules where we said, hey, here's what you're going to follow. So I think that we want to take advantage of the agreement that was made to them.
We made an agreement.
We made an agreement, right? To take advantage of that in order to get you towards moving closer to your goals. And I think on both sides, it's going to feel a lot better. It made me think of this is only the first week of this challenge. We got 8 more weeks to go. But one of the things that I just heard today was like, well, I really don't like wasting food. And one of the big things that was a big eye opener for me just a few years ago was, I forget the name, but there's a great book called Lean Habits. And the way that the author framed it, she said, it's totally understandable that you don't want to throw food away. Like, I totally get it. You're talking, I'm talking for me here, president of the Clean Plate Club, ate everyone's food. I have 3 brothers. I would be like, give me what you have left right here. Bring it all here. So I totally understand that. However, if you look at food as something that is, one, to be nutritious, to give you the energy and the fuel that you need to accomplish your goals, anything that's over that is waste. Whether you throw it in the garbage or it is stored in your body as fat cells, it's waste. Whether you give it to the dog, it doesn't matter what you do, it's all waste. So I prefer to throw it away outside of my body as opposed to throwing it away to be stored in my body as fat cells. That was a huge eye opener for me because, as you well know, I don't like leaving food on my plate.
No.
Yes.
Clean plate club. Yeah. And I think I told you earlier, we talk about this a lot because we do a lot of planning, but that whole, you could just take whatever, you're already full, but go ahead and keep storing that in your fat cells. It's so visual for me, and it makes me go, I don't want to store that in my fat cells because it's usually something that you want to eat more of. It's usually
we always got space for
dessert, right? Yeah. It's usually something that it's not like I'm going to eat 5 more pieces of asparagus because I don't want to waste it, right? Like it's usually something that we probably know isn't going to move us towards our goal. Again, listeners who are on Podcast World or 40 Fit Fours or Strivers and Wah Lum students, it's all about what you want, right? So we're talking about this in terms of because there's a goal, because there's a specific measurable and attainable goal that we're trying to achieve here. And a lot of people have mentioned over the years to us, I've always tried to do XYZ, but failed, right? So we're giving this free advice. And in all honesty, we're not even trying to sell you this program because it's full. Like we can't take any more.
I don't want any more.
We actually have a wait list already.
Yeah,
so we're actually not here advertising this, but really just thought we would share this info so that the people that are on the challenge could pick up some of the notes and tips and things that we're going to go over. But also we thought it would be great for, my Culture Chat listeners as well as our 40 Fit Viewers to kind of take from it what you will. So really this is just kind of us sharing.
We're just vamping here. So this is only the first week of this challenge. This is the first time that I've ever done anything like this, which is like, hey, here's a specific 8-week challenge to drop 2 sizes. Here's the nutrition plan. Here is the fitness strength training plan. Here's exactly, and I'll be with you the entire way. So it is an experiment for me, even though I took successful formula, proven, and I'm going to implement it. It's the first time that I'm implementing it. I'm really excited about it. We were having a conversation earlier since we were kind of both new to this specific challenge of, well, how can we bring more value to those who are participating in it? And so that's the purpose of this. But because we do also have Culture Chat and 40 Fit Foo, we figured
crossover episode.
What the heck? Might as well put it on there. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of what else. There's a lot that came up just in these first few days.
Yeah. So I think one of the other things is the over focusing on, like hyper focusing on the less important thing. Right. So especially with the nutrition, like going, is it okay if I have, a few more almonds or whatever? But then at dinner, there's like a dinner roll or a piece of bread. We're like, well, you can have your almonds as a snack, but really let's look at your dinner meal. And so there's that, again, bargaining and compromise. But I know for sure, and this could be moving into the fitness side of things, is that compromise of, do I have to strength train though? Like I do Tai Chi and I do Kung Fu, which we both think is one of the best possible means of fitness and exercise.
Huge fans of Chinese martial arts
We're
over
really
here.
big fans. But in terms of weight loss or burning body fat, body composition, because weight loss isn't the goal, right? Correction there. I think you need to kind of harp on the strength training a little. And then maybe there's some misconception of what that is, because you could probably demonstrate like 3 exercises that people will be like, oh, well, that's aerobic or calisthenic, but really it is strength training, like squats and planks. And
so there's a lot to digest there, a lot to unpack. Again, taking from smarter people, there are experts out there. Alan Cosgrove, who's their gym, Results Fitness, they are experts at this, at fat loss. So he has the hierarchy, which I repeat all the time. I probably repeat this thing 5 times a week. There's 5 things, the hierarchy of fat loss. Number 1 is, if you want to lose fat, and this doesn't mean, again, losing scale weight. This is fat loss, body composition, looking hot, looking good, right? That's nutrition, number 1. Number 2, read rule number 1 again, because you need to. Rule number 3 is strength training, and I'll describe what that means in a second. Rule number 4 is more interval metabolic type of training. And number 5 then would be what most people do when they say, I'm going to get in shape, which is steady state cardio, which is let's go for a jog or something like that. Or we get a lot of people who come to Tai Chi because I think it'll help me with fat loss. Tai Chi has so many great benefits, so many. But if you're looking at it just as a fat loss tool, it's not going to be enough. So we've got our nutrition, and then we got our strength training. Strength training or resistance training is going to be dependent on what your body is capable of. So for most people, having something to assist them as a load outside of their body is going to be correct resistance training for them. So we can take a bodyweight squat. I can do a bodyweight squat. I am only going to benefit from that over time, a certain amount, until I change the difficulty or the intensity. I can make it harder by doing a single leg squat. I can make it harder by getting a weight, a load, and bear it. Or if I have issues like I don't have the strength, working my way towards a bodyweight squat may be what strength training is for me. Mm-hmm. The thing with Kung Fu and Tai Chi is you're doing a lot of the same movements, and unfortunately in our modern day society, most people aren't able to push themselves to get into strength training. I look at Kung Fu and Tai Chi more on the steady state cardio, and then maybe when you're moving quickly with some of the Kung Fu movements and doing your forms or sparring drills, you're tapping into that metabolic, but I don't consider that strength training. Strength training is progressive overload over time, which is you need to move resistance. It could be your body, it could be an external load, but that is a specific type of training that is made to build lean muscle. And so because the purpose of this whole thing is fat loss, building lean muscle, you have to, 1 and 2, eat correctly, but you have to strength train. Strength training is what will build lean muscle. And doing Kung Fu and Tai Chi doesn't always necessarily lead to that.
Yeah. And I think there's also a misconception of how much time this is going to take. Because people are listening and they're like, oh, gee, all I need to do is prepare all my meals and do a bunch of food prep, which, by the way, that was something I wanted to mention earlier, is planning and preparing is the key to setting yourself up for success. Well, it's like, well, I had all this stuff in my closet anyway. So the chips, I just want to eat it because they were there. Or, oh, I didn't realize I was going to be at a birthday party, and so I just went whatever, and I ate whatever. Like, you have to plan and prepare and be mindful of that, and that's part of the challenge as well. But I think a lot of people are going, oh my gosh, I don't have the time for this. Well, when you say that, then we just say, you're just not making it a priority. But strength training and all the workouts, I mean, generally, it could be like a 12-minute thing, like pushing on 20 with your warm-ups and whatnot, but you can get a lot done is what I'm saying in 15 minutes or less.
Yeah, so depending on what your limitations or your strengths are, you may not need as long as a time to warm up, and what equates to a really good strength training session could be 20 minutes. We all have 20 minutes in a day. If you don't, it's like Mimi said, you just are not prioritizing your time. And we all do it. And the thing is, sometimes when it comes to prioritizing your time, you may need to prioritize, hey, I need to take care of my kid right now. Oh, my mom's in the hospital. I need to go take care of that. That's prioritizing your time. Most of the time, though, when we say we don't have time for our health and fitness is, well, I'm prioritizing watching this TV show because that's what I want to do. Or I'm prioritizing more time on my phone. Or I'm prioritizing a bunch of other things. Just realize that we all, every single person on the planet has 24 hours in a day. So we all have the same amount of time. So yes, planning and preparing is super huge. And I don't know where else was we going
Strength
with that.
training it can be efficient.
And sorry, yeah. And so this, as far as the strength training thing, for this specific plan, what we're asking people to do is 2 strength training sessions a week, which can be up to 45 minutes to an hour if you have the time for that, and 2 metabolic sessions a week, which could be 20 to 30 minutes each. Now, depending on your schedule, you may or may not have time for that full session each one, but everyone has time to take 15 to 20 minutes a day to focus on getting stronger, and another 15 minutes or so, or even 30 minutes at the end of the week to say, let me plan my week as far as putting things on my calendar, ordering the food that I need, the groceries that I need. So you do have to put a little bit of work in the front end to then be successful in the back.
Yeah, and I think what's really key there is that whole prioritizing, because this is, even if you're not on a challenge, we talk about the whole put your own oxygen mask on in the airplane before you help someone else. Otherwise, you'll just pass out and you'll be useless to everyone. Everybody likes to say they don't have time because they have children. And I know those tiny humans, they're so needy and, and they just, but you want to be able to do that, right? You want to be able to help your loved ones. You want to be able to go to the hospital if somebody needs you there. You want to be able to support your friends and all of these different things. And if you don't make your health the priority, whether that's 5 minutes of meditation a day or 10 minutes of stretching or doing something like as more aggressive like this, like, no, I need to buckle down and really focus on it, then you're just not going to be any use to anyone.
Well, to kind of keep harping on this point, because a lot of the times, this is definitely the case for me, a lot of the quote unquote advice that I give out to people is really being reverberated back to me. It's like I say a lot of the things that I know I should be doing, right? So when you look at how to prioritize your week, if you were to take 30 minutes on at the end of the week or before the beginning of the next week to just take 30 minutes of just thinking about what would you like that week to look like, you would probably save yourself hours and hours in the week to then find that time to do the things that you love. And in the same token, on a smaller scale, if just the night before you took 10 minutes and said, okay, what is my plan based on the hours that I have? Here's exactly what I'm going to try to do. Knowing that there is a planning fallacy. We all think that certain things are going to take us shorter than they are, like triple or quadruple the time. If you think, I'm going to get this thing done in 15 minutes, well, just say, nope, it's going to take me an hour. But just taking 5 minutes the night before to plan out, here's what I'd like my day to look like, that will also, you will find yourself with a lot of more extra time than what you need. The biggest thing I find is you have people saying, oh, the day, and this is me. Where the heck did the day go? That only happens when I don't have a plan for the day. When you're just going, the day flies by and you don't have any time. If you have a plan, you're like, wow, I got so much stuff done today.
That's kind of how I just live my life. I'm on contingency and always planning for the worst.
Right.
But it's been a habit that I put in place for a really, really long time. So I always tell Oscar, I was like, yeah, well, if you know something's due Sunday on March 1st, I usually try to have it done by February 1st. Like I literally my whole, instead of 15 minutes the hour, I quadruple that. But because I know all the stuff on my plate, I have to constantly do that. And he'll tell you how many times a day I go, oh my gosh, I have to do this thing. Oh wait, no, I already did it. So I love to check myself, but I still have that anxiety of racing against the clock. So you do really have to over prepare. All right, so really quickly, can you name your two most bang for the buck strength training exercises?
Okay, this is not going to be a big surprise. If I only had a certain amount of time, but the problem is that you need a certain amount of skill level for it. And one would be the kettlebell swing and the kettlebell get up. I think that does 99% of what you need, especially for those who are not trained. Now, if you've been doing that for a long time, then you're going to have to increase the load significantly. But if you've never trained with kettlebells and get-ups, or trained correctly, also to give the moves the respect that they deserve. I think those two movements, the kettlebell get-up, which we have on our playlist on Wah Lum Films, there's a 5-part series of here's how to break down the get-up, and I also do another series on how to break down the kettlebell swing. Those two movements give you almost everything you need. With the get-up, you're getting not only mobility and stability, kind of getting your way up, it's almost like strength training yoga, like is what you could look at as far as the kettlebell get up. And then as far as the swing, you have something that shows dynamic power, the quickness of tension and relaxation, loading the posterior chain, efficiency with breath work. It's something that if you could learn it would really benefit those of you who practice Tai Chi, because Tai Chi has a lot of slow movements, and this would be a big gap filler, I think, something like a kettlebell swing. So those would be two easy to
love it. And the second thing is that whole, okay, we've got strength training, then we have metabolic, is that cardio. A lot of people get confused. They're like, oh, so does that mean I just go for a run or get on the treadmill? And like, maybe you can explain very quickly, what does metabolic workout mean? And then we can kind of go over what a few of those great exercises are.
If we talked a little bit about the strength training part as you moving resistance, so maybe like squats for an example, and I were to squat, I don't know, I would take a kettlebell that's 44 kilograms, like 90 pounds, and I'm grinding out 5 reps. That's a specific strength training protocol. If I were then to go and grab a 12 kilogram or a 26 pound kettlebell and then move that very quickly for time and do it for like 30 seconds of explosive squats, setting it down, resting for 30 seconds, repeating, things that I can move quickly for those short bursts of time, more metabolic. This is where the science, the trickiness of picking the right exercises and the right load for the person comes in, where what someone may look like is doing for strength training, for another person, and for another person that may be their one. Like someone just doing stuff on the ground, stretching, they could be huffing and puffing and they're completely deconditioned. You've got another person who's like, wow, I'm getting this benefit of feeling the stretch. And for another person who's like, this is not beneficial for me because I'm already flexible and I'm in good shape, right? So they all start blending. If you think about strength training as moving resistance, kind of like with a little bit of a challenge, maybe not super fast. The metabolic, also moving things with resistance, your body or a weight, but maybe at a quicker pace, timed with intervals. And it kind of starts, they kind of start blending a little bit into each other.
Yeah, I know a lot of people get kind of confused about that and what that means, which is why those of you on the program, it's awesome. Oscar just tells you exactly what to do, and then we make adjustments. Right. That's another thing I wanted to talk about, is that mindset of also flexibility. So it's really great. We have this 8-week challenge, and that we have specific goals. We have specific foods in mind. We have specific exercises in mind. But then people get really caught up on like, well, this says, to do an overhead press, and my shoulder, I can't do that, or I haven't pressed in years, and now I'm not going to be able to do the whole workout.
Yeah. So, okay, a lot of shout outs going on today, but Mike Boyle Strength and Conditioning, the great guys at Movement of Medicine, Kevin Carr, Brendan Rierick, they helped us out on their methodology of this continuation of progressions and regressions, like to infinity, regress that into infinity. So regardless of what the movement is, there are always options. And the way that I look at it is, you use an overhead press as an example. Ton of people with shoulder issues. Okay, you can't overhead press. Let's do a press horizontally. Then I've got some people, I can horizontally. Okay, well, what's another upper body movement that we can do? Let's go to pulling. Great, we're pulling there. I still can't do that. All right, no upper body movement then. We're going to do something for the lower body. And that's okay, because there is also an effect that happens with strength training. You could be pressing overhead and using your abs, squeezing your butt. There's a transfer, like a lot of other muscles are being used. Your brain doesn't know the difference. Like if by pressing something heavy, my butt's squeezing, my brain doesn't care that it's a heavy bell that's pressing it. It just knows, hey, recruit your glutes, recruit your legs. So I have someone on the challenge now who tweaked their knee, and they asked that same exact question today. Hey, what do I do? I can't do this. I'm like, no problem. Do these things instead. You're still moving at a quick pace. You're still going to get a metabolic effect, or you're still going to get a strength training effect, depending on what the workout is.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is also the 100% or zero, right? Like it's like I'm all or nothing, or I can't. And then that's sometimes a bit of the resistance to fulfilling your promise and fulfilling that, like, well, this is my human nature out. Like I'm running.
Well,
it's my survival. Like I'm like, okay, I'm into, self-defense mechanism. Like, well, I'm not going to do that one because I don't like that part.
Yeah. But either you don't like it, or we've all been. If you've done martial arts, we've all been injured. I mean, if you're a human, we've all been injured at some point. And I think the difference between not doing anything, or having this plan of 100%. Here's 100% of the plan I'm able to do. Here's 0%. The difference between 0 and 20% is not 20%. It's like 1,000%, in my opinion. Like the fact that you came in and you're actually able to do something is so much greater than doing nothing.
Yeah, we always even talk about, he's had clients that are just like, look, I didn't sleep all night. I had the most stressful day. And they've literally come in to do breathing.
Yep.
And left feeling better.
They
right?
did a little breathing. They got up, stretched a little bit, did a little bit of like assisted body movements. And I'm like, wow, that's exactly what I did. And that is infinitely better than not doing anything.
Yeah. And so the last thing I wanted to kind of go through, unless there's other stuff you wanted to go over, is that making it work for your life. So for me, since I've been on the challenge, I am a full-time Kung Fu teacher, small business owner, wife. I help lots of family do lots of other things. I'm on a task force for Orange County to prevent crime. I do a podcast. Like, so there's a lot of stuff going on. And so sometimes there are compromises to be made, but I also don't want to give myself that out. Like, well, I'm too busy. I'm not going to do it. If I decided, I'm going to do it. So for example, like on the Metabolic day, I asked Oscar, I'm like, okay, well, I want to work my sparring drills because I don't get a chance to work my sparring drills. So in one of those little blocks of, hey, you could be doing squats really fast or whatever. And I'm like, well, I do them on strength day. And also, I'm able to hit my squat, but I really want to make sure I'm getting my back work. And like, can I put that in so I'm maximizing my time? Because I'm not going to be able to do both. I can't do an hour of this and an hour of this and then an hour of this. And know that make it work for you, right? Like make it work for you. If you want to do Kung Fu, plus you want to do this thing, or you want to do Tai Chi, like use the Tai Chi as your warm up then. Right? You use what you have and make it work for you versus being resistant to, there's just too many things going on. I like to try to find a way and like how they can all balance each other out and complement one another. I also was able to take one of those segments and work on some forms because I give all my time to my students and I don't get the same time I want for myself. But now that I'm doing this, I'm spending the time strength training. But after I'm warmed up, I'm like, okay, let me grease the groove and kind of go through movements. So I'm just kind of sharing that example so that you know that there are a lot of things that you need to do in your life, but there's ways to kind of plug and play and, make the Legos fit, and they don't have to be exactly in the same order all the time. Like it doesn't have to be so precise, which goes back to the between 0 and 20% and so on.
This is where having a conversation with your coach or your Sifu, if you're a Kung Fu or Tai Chi student, comes in handy. This is really, really super important. I'm talking to the martial artists here now. If you are doing strength training as a supplement to your martial arts practice, then fit in that martial arts practice into your strength training. I think doing a Tai Chi form or doing some Kung Fu basics are an awesome way to warm up. Perfect. So you're getting that as a checklist. Then you can do your strength training. Then it's your Metabolic day. You can push yourself hard and do some Kung Fu forms very fast, right? You could bag and do your striking drills. So there's a lot of ways to kind of take advantage of your time and still get a lot of things done. So yeah, that is huge.
Yeah. So any other things you want to add to our listeners and watchers? And
No. I mean, I thought this was great. We're again only in the first week. Maybe we'll do it again at the halfway point or at the end of the challenge and kind of check in and see where we're at. We by no means have all the answers. Things are not written in stone anymore. The rules aren't chiseled in stone. They're all on computers and phones, and they can all be erased, deleted, moved around. So we're going to just keep learning from this experience, and hopefully share as much as we can with everybody.
Yeah, so if you do have questions, since Oscar just committed to do this again, if you do have questions or anything about the things that we discussed today, please submit them, send them. I will link all of that here on the YouTube sphere, on the Culture Chat sphere, on the social media. You can reach out to us and let us know if you have questions. Thanks so much for listening, and thank you, Coach Sifu Oscar.
Thank you, Coach Sifu Mimi.
Bye, guys.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to Culture Chat and hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please subscribe and rate my podcast. Feel free to leave me suggestions or send an email to mimi@culturechatpodcast.com or follow me on social media at Sifu Mimi Chan on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook.